Welcome to the second episode of Dr. D, That's Me. The information you will hear today is for entertainment purposes only. The information is not meant to heal, cure, treat, or diagnose. This episode will focus on natural oncology. Prior to the advent of a trillion-dollar machine known as Big Pharma some 150 years ago, nature was more whole, complete, and lacking in nothing. We are more overweight and malnourished than ever. This is a serious problem. Well, right now I'd like to introduce Dr. D. But before I do, I want to ask you a question. What two fun-filled facts do you have for us today?
Well, which one did you want me to start out with? Did you want me to start out with the one from West Virginia or my other true passion?
Let's start out with the one from West Virginia.
So, it's as interesting to me. Hopefully you'll find this to be interesting as well. So, in West Virginia, every square mile, there is a mountain.
Every square mile? You've got to be kidding me.
Every square mile in West Virginia, there is a mountain somewhere. So that makes West Virginia very unique by its own regard, let's just say.
Well, I think you had an experience yesterday with a mountain, didn't you?
Oh, I did. I think, Seneca Rocks kind of kicked my butt a little bit. I must admit, I had all of my mantras down. I had my positive affirmations. And I think it kind of fell by the wayside because the mountain has been there before me and it'll be there after me. And it was speaking to me, not literally, but figuratively, of course. And what I learned from it was like you need to try harder and you need to do better. You need to do more. So now I'm 6'1", 186 pounds. I haven't weighed that since high school. So I'm really motivated. I'm ready to go. And we're just going to keep momentum with that because, as you know, Miss Sarah G., energy moves in only two ways. It moves forward and it moves backward. And if I'm going to move back, the only thing that I'm moving back on is my faith.
Okay. Now, I was there with you to witness this climb of Seneca Rocks yesterday. Your intention was one way, but you ended up making it to the top, not the way you had intended. I do believe you were going to jog to the top, but you had to give way to the walking instead. Yes. As we were sitting there in front of Yoakum's, which is that little general store, we met this man. I mean, just unusual things happen when we're together. And this man, there was this bike. It was, what kind of a bike was that?
It was a Triumph.
A Triumph, yeah. So we're sitting there looking at this bike thinking, that's an old bike. That's like a vintage bike. And out comes this guy. His name is Bob. And he said, no, that's like a newer bike. It's only a couple years old. Part of it comes from England. Part of it comes from other places. And we're like talking to him some more. And what was unusual, among other things, about Bob was that he was a special ed teacher for many years. And what did you used to do?
Special ed. That was 5 years in the making. He had asked me where I'd taught at, and I told him Gainesville, Florida. So we kind of struck up a conversation, and one thing led to another, and we had a good time together with him and meeting him and other people as well. The people in that area, they're really friendly, and I really enjoyed their company.
Yeah. So the first fun-filled fact was about West Virginia mountains. Tell me your second fun-filled fact.
All right. So one of my other passions is gardening. I absolutely adore gardening. Anything that has to do with the growth of life and just putting in an effort for that really makes it seem like it's not a job. It's an adventure. I grow things from the seed all the way to 10 to 12 foot tall tomato plants, and I really get a kick out of it just to see that come to fruition.
So what is your fun-filled fact about gardening?
Well, I just learned this recently. If you bury a piece of big wood underneath the ground, when it rains, the wood absorbs the rain, and in the season, well, not necessarily a season, but whenever it gets dry, the wood gives the roots the water that it needs. So there's a symbiotic relationship there between the wood and the roots, and it allows the perfect balance of the right amount of water. Now, sometimes, I'm a little over the top with things, and I'll water too much or, do that. But, there's an intelligent design, call it God, intelligent design, or whatever you want to call it, that helps us out if we just pay attention. So when you put that wood underneath the ground and cover it up, that helps with your soil. The enrichment of soil is very important. So we're doing that now. We're growing a garden. I think food is the new money, and I'm serious about that. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now with that.
Okay, so thank you for that. I feel the need to tell our audience how you and I met. It was through my boyfriend, Nate. I met him in 2019 for the second time. I went to an arts and crafts fair, and he was the gig worker to the person next to me. And we fell in love quickly after that and spent a lot of time on the phone. And about a month after that, he had a head injury. And this is where it was like a serendipitous meeting between Dr. D and my boyfriend, Nate. He was looking for some pallets, and Dr. D had some around where he worked, and that's how they met. So while I was taking care of Nate, over comes Dr. D to help him with his headaches, with his lack of energy, and I was impressed immediately with his knowledge and alternative treatment programs. It was a few months later, and this is during COVID, so he didn't get his bone marrow test, but he was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. And Dr. D continued to help Nate through his holistic medicine, but his cancer was really too far along. What kind of treatments did you attempt with him? And some of it, he always felt better after Dr. D came over. But do you remember what you did with him?
Well, we did detox of the body, getting outside, fresh sunshine is always a good thing to do with people who have cancer, because it always gets back to energy. Everything is energy within the universe. If you look at, like I said in the last episode, Nikola Tesla talked about the three things that are most important about knowing the secrets of the universe. It has to do with energy, frequency, and vibration. So I tried to increase his energy. But unfortunately, it was when I was a healthcare practitioner, and I just didn't have the extensive knowledge that I do now. And in my doctorate and my PhD travels, I got a chance to go a little deeper. So I think about that often, but everything happens for a reason. There's no coincidences in life. But we did detox, we did red light therapy, we did auriculotherapy. I gave him the cancer protocol for auriculotherapy, and we worked on that a lot. We ate good whole foods, clean foods.
Yeah. Well, you were not only just his healthcare provider or healthcare practitioner, you were also his deep friend. Very, very kind words were shared between you two. And whenever you have a positive attitude and you have a friend like that, it prolongs your life.
Yeah.
However, Nate did pass away September 11th, 2020, and it was a very hard loss for all of us, but as Dr. D had mentioned, there is a reason for everything. So it was his time, and that's what happened there. And I was so glad to have met you at that point, because you were such a strong catalyst for continued positive thinking and help through that difficult time.
And something about that just came to me. You had talked about this yesterday. Didn't you say something that he had chemicals spilled on him?
Yeah, he was working for the gas company, I think in South Dakota. Whenever they were dumping some residue from a well, it had some sort of chemicals in it and splashed up on him. And I think that might have contributed to his cancer, if not the complete contribution to it. Something happened. Of course, he had emotional problems like we all do, and that's something that can cause cancer.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. I don't know I just think that it's all part of a bigger plan. It really is. And I was just privileged and honored to get to know him a little bit. And you're right, he was a good guy, and he had a great spirit about him. He liked a lot of the same things that I liked, and we shared a commonality that was unparalleled.
Yeah. So, we are coming from, where are we recording this?
Where are we? Where are we? We're coming to you live from Buchanan, West Virginia. Just want to say thanks to Spike for recording this event. We are most grateful to him for his hospitality and kindness. Without him, it wouldn't be possible. And you might know Spike as a radio talk show host of the breakfast show at Sky Radio in Clarksburg, West Virginia, 106.5. Also, I can't forget about my wonderful friend and co-host, Sarah G. She has been instrumental in helping me out as a co-host. She's an excellent professional artist here in Buchanan. The name of the business that she works at is called Artistry on Main. And I told her earlier, I said, I will buy that black shirt with the green on the front because I love my T-shirts, and I think that you are amazing.
Well, thank you. So on with the program, and thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. But what are some inexpensive solutions for cancer treatments these days?
Well, first I would have to say that a lot of information that I have, I'll be giving you today is backed and substantiated off of the backs of others' life's work. So I must, in the imperative, give credit where credit is deserved. First, I'm thankful to God for showing me an alternative viewpoint. Secondly, Mom and Dad have been instrumental in backing me and supporting me in mind, body, spirit, and soul. And as Solzhenitsyn said in days gone past, our lives are not our own from womb to tomb. May we be forever grateful to those who blazed this trail before us.
We do follow other people's paths, do we not?
Yes.
Can you give us some tips for natural oncology in 2026?
Well, cancer is and always will be an energy problem. There is certain millivolts in cancer patients that are considerably lower than a normal person. A normal healthy person has a -70 to -80 millivoltage range, while a sick patient has around -30 to -40. So that plays a big factor in their life moving forward. Some natural remedies, natural things that you could do: flaxseed oil combined with cottage cheese and milk, or you could use quirk, Quirk, and that will give the body the proper lactate to reverse the aging of cancer cells, according to Dr. Budwig. She was asked the question, where do we get the most energy from foods? And her response was flaxseed oil, cottage cheese, and milk. Now, the reason being is because it has 3 carbon bonds. Guess what? We are made of carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. So there you have a simple solution that you can use for pennies on the dollar, and it can help you with the cancer that you do have. Also, combined with raw sauerkraut juice, it also provides positive lactate for the body to restore the energy levels. Sodium bicarbonate, which is baking soda, is a great stabilizer, combined with sauerkraut juice. The problem with cancer is that the pH levels are too high. So this 1-2 punch is a great way to bring the body back into homeostasis.
That is an unusual solution I'd never heard of before. That's very interesting. Sauerkraut juice and baking soda. Wow, that's really incredible. What about fever push? I've heard about that. What does that mean?
I can't remember the guy's name. He was an American, so you have to please forgive me in advance for that. But what they do under supervision is they actually increase the core body temperature up to 102, 103 degrees. And as you know, when you get a fever, it's pushing out the disease from your body. That's why they call it like a fever break, or you'll go into a cold sweat. So it's the body's natural way of trying to heal itself. So they actually induce the fever push to get a lot of these toxins out of our body. So this way of medicine comes from Germany, and it's from the top clinics in Germany, actually.
So whenever you do a fever push, you get all sweaty, and then what do you have to do?
Yeah, so after you get sweaty and you get a lot of these toxins out of your body, you just can't use soap that has chemicals in it. You need what's called Castile soap. So the Castile soap actually is an all-natural soap, and you just use it on your body, and it will take care of the toxins. If you use soap that has chemicals in it, then basically you're working against yourself, because the pores will open, and when the pores are open, it can cause a lot of problems if you put back in the wrong chemicals, or chemicals at all.
So basically, you get all sweaty, and then you take a shower with the Castile soap. Right?
Yes.
Is that what I understand?
Yes.
Okay, so as always, nutrition is a factor in health, no matter what you were thinking about. It has to have a factor in cancer. Is there any foods that we should never eat?
Well, getting back to the first episode, we had talked a little bit about staying away from the middle aisle of the grocery store, because that's where all of your genetically modified foods are. Stay on the outside perimeter. That's where your whole foods are. But I have been trained from my mom. She's my first holistic doctor. Yeah, she's really cool. Cool chick. Margarine, don't eat margarine. It's like eating plastic. Irish whole butter would be a better choice. The older men and women, the old timers, as we say, they wouldn't eat margarine to do anything, to save their life. It's just not real. So we're eating a lot of foods that are not bioidentical to the body. And when you eat foods that don't relate to what you're naturally producing, then the body's like, why are you giving me this? What is this actually? So, yeah, it's like one molecule away from plastic. So you might as well just say it's plastic. But, yeah, never eat margarine. Margarine's real crap for your body. You can clog your arteries and do a lot of bad things to your body.
So in America, we're known for our obesity, and we eat a lot of rubbish.
Yeah.
Are there any drinks that can break down the unwanted foods?
Yeah, there's papaya juice and carrot juice. The Amish know all about these natural remedies. And what it does, it combats against getting rid of these long protein chains. And, it's very, very helpful. So we just need to get back to whole foods, juicing, drinking more water. If you weigh 200 pounds and you're exercising, you really should take in about half your body weight in ounces of water. So, and getting back to sauerkraut juice, I'm on that right now because I'm taking that a lot. And I'm 6'1", 186 pounds now. I haven't been 186 pounds since high school, so I'm pretty proud of that myself. But I still have a lot of work to do to get to where I need to go. But the sauerkraut juice thing, Dr. Lothar said, the German, is so important. The raw sauerkraut juice gives the patient 10 to 15 times the energy that sauerkraut gives. He feels so strongly about it that he believes it should be sold for $100 a bottle.
So you're getting this information from a book, I presume. What's the name of the book?
It is the German Cancer Breakthrough, a guide to top clinics by Andrew Schulberg.
Okay. That's good. Now, let's go over the recipe for it, because you mentioned it, but we need to have, how many of what to use?
So you need 150 to 200 grams of cottage cheese plus 3 to 4 tablespoons of fresh refrigerated flax oil plus half of that amount of whole milk, 1.5 to 2 tablespoons. Thoroughly blended this basic mixture. After it's thoroughly blended, you can add berries or some other kind of whole fruit. Stick with the natural fruit. So that's
okay,
that's
now,
what I would do with that.
That's really good advice. I think that any time you add something natural to your body, it should help you out. So that's very intriguing. Now, whenever you were spending time with Nate, I noticed one of the most important things that you did for him was offer counseling. How important is counseling to the cancer patient?
Yeah, counseling is so important because you're looking at their tears, their fears, their traumas, and their dramas. And you have to address that. And the great Swiss psychologist Carl Jung said he knew, well, actually not him, the patient knew about 60%, if you look at what he had said, says, we know why we have cancer. So it wasn't about necessarily the food, but it was about how we mentally looked at things. How you view the world is how you view yourself. So everything is a projection of that. Everything is mental in the Hermetic way of teaching. And so when you look at that, you see things differently. So the psychotherapy with Carl Jung has a lot to do with getting people to tell themselves a better story. And you're not going to change until you do just that very thing. You have to tell yourself a better story to get a different result, and it's just a better way to live and to be honest with yourself. And I believe that the biggest lies that we tell are the ones that we tell ourselves. So in order to get something that you've never had, you're going to have to do something that you've never done.
Right. There was a doctor or someone you mentioned in the last episode with 30,000 clients and 30 years of experience. Let's revisit that.
Yeah, so Dr. Richard Hamer, Hamer, you can look him up, Google him. He had, 30 years of experience and over 30,000 patients. And what he deduced from that was that was, again, related to the tears, the fears, the dramas, and traumas. And this can trigger cancer if you're in extreme stress all the time, if you have unmet, unchallenged traumas that you really haven't dealt with. You try to do things too much on your own and you don't really get to the psychotherapy and you don't get the help that you need. Therapy doesn't mean that you're weak. It just means that you're trying to figure out how to get through and manage your life in a better way so you can become the best version of yourself. So, yeah, we look a lot at just the foods that we eat and things of that nature, but it's emotional, it's mental. There's different levels of consciousness that we have that can really hold us back, and how we see the world is how we see ourselves, and the negative projection can really cause us a lot of turmoil. What happens with the stress is it just collapses the whole immune system.
Yeah. You've talked to me before about the part the subconscious plays.
Mm-hmm.
You've said before that it never sleeps.
Yeah, it never sleeps. So tell yourself a different version of health and wellness. A lot of times we focus on the sickness instead of the health and the wellness of our lives. And where your attention goes, your energy flows. So I just want to focus on the positive things that make me well. And I got up this morning and I ran 3 miles. I actually didn't run, I jogged. Well, let me back up. I walked, I jogged, and then I ran probably 100 meters, and then I walked, and then I jogged, and then I ran another 75 meters. But all in all, it was about 3 miles. I feel great, feel good. It makes a difference. So what you do consistently will show up as a habit, and the habit that you create will get you to where you need to be. And I credit a lot of the consistency that I have to what I talked about on the first episode, which was intermittent fasting. So 12 years of that has given me the body that I've looked for and wanted, and just trying to move in a direction of health and wellness and wholeness, and trying to get rid of some things that necessarily didn't serve me well, and keep it moving in a positive direction.
So one thing I want to ask you is, when you're following natural oncology, what is your advice to people about the traditional medicine, what they should do? Is it something that you partner with, or at what point do they need to just go natural? Do you have an answer for that?
Oh, it just depends on the person's belief. You know, we have a limited mindset a lot of times of what we think we can and cannot do, but there's nothing you can't do. There's not anything that you can't be. There's nothing that you can't become. You just have to work hard for it, and you can get whatever you want. You just have to have a higher standard of excellence. So when you execute your life with excellence and just say, I'm living in infinite possibilities, and I can do this or I can do that, and then you go out and work for it and you get it. So it has a lot to do with the mindset, the belief that you have, and you just go after it and make the most of what you have with where you're at in your life. And I think that most people don't get what they want, including myself, but at the same time you always get who you are. So you change the energy, you change the frequency of who you are, and you can do that through exercise. You can do that through actually meditation. Meditation is a key pivotal point to get you into a place of wholeness and oneness and acceptance of yourself. A lot of people are fighting against their own egos. And ego is an acronym for edging God out. So don't edge God out. Allow your higher power to guide you and direct you in all things, and so it shall be.
One main point I get from you over and over is the power of positive thinking.
Yeah.
And I think that healing yourself could have a major factor in how you view the world.
Yeah. So again, you know, Jesus said, heal yourself. And then we try to look outside of ourselves a lot of times for the answers, but our natural pharmacy is within ourselves. So we have endorphins, we have serotonin, we have these happy receptors within us that can help us to sustain us, to maintain us, to get us through a place where we actually feel good about ourselves. So, you know, if your mind can make you sick by the decisions that you make, it can also heal you. So let's just focus on the healing aspect of it, on the health and the wellness, and get away from, you know, oh my gosh, I'm sick and this and that, and that's not going to really move you into a place where you can get well, because the wellness has to do with you talking about you're making a positive change, and you're moving in that direction again, to think about the changes that you're going to make within your environment. And by the way, genetic determinism is only about 10% of who we are, so you can't use an excuse of, well, my mom was overweight, my dad was overweight, so I'm just basically screwed, I'm going to be overweight. That's just a pitiful excuse that we use to lay down and do nothing. So you have to have a higher standard and say, okay, if 10% is genetic, I have 90% left, so where's it coming from? It's coming from your environment. So to have a healthy environment, to be surrounded by people who celebrate you and not tolerate you, that's a key factor also in getting you where you need to be for mind, body, spirit connection. Many men, I think, have it wrong. All they worry about is, oh, I just want respect, and that's fine, but it's secondary. You have to have a connection first. Everything is about the connection of life, connection to nature, going to Seneca Rocks, getting outside, getting fresh air, fresh sunshine. Florence Nightingale, I think she would roll over in her grave if she saw how we operate hospitals today. There's no windows, so you're not getting any fresh air from the outside. So Yeah, I mean, all these things are indicative of getting us to a place of health and wellness. There's not just one magic cure for cancer. I can't just say, if you do this one thing, you'll be fine. I'm not making any guarantees or saying that I have all of the natural solutions for what it is. Oncology, natural oncology is big, and there's a lot of different ways that you could go with this, but there are toxic overloads that we put our bodies under. Smoking, drinking too much. There's a lot of things that we do to ourselves, but the body's pretty resilient. But if you keep it in shape, if you move your feet, you can get to a better headspace within yourself.
Well, you've given us a lot to think about, and I appreciate the time that we spend together. Every time we get together, we always have a little fun. And I should confess, he made it to the top of the mountain, but I didn't quite get there. And it took me a lot longer, So
I was coming for you. I was coming down.
Yeah, you came back down, and you were glad to see me, I think, because you didn't know whether I was going to make it up as far as I did.
1,949 feet.
Nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, so that's like my 12th time. And I just want to get to where I can actually jog up there. So that's like my next little goal, or my quest, or my mission, if you will. So I'm getting up early in the morning. I've got my little stick in hand. It's my dog beater, and I hope I don't ever have to use it, so I don't like to harm anything. But, I have to protect myself at all costs. But, yeah, it's things are going good. I'm writing another book and working on a few other little projects that I have going on. I'm excited about the direction of my life, and it's getting warmer. Trees are coming out. Grass is growing green. Plants are coming up. I've got cucumbers and squash and potatoes and all kinds of good fun stuff to plant this year. So the 22nd, I was talking to Dad, and he said there's no frost after the 22nd of this month, so we're going to get everything in the ground on the 22nd. So.
Okay, so we need to remind our listeners that if you do like this podcast,
yes,
you should like, subscribe, share it with your friends.
And what's the name of the podcast?
It's Dr. D, That's Me. And don't forget to spell out the word doctor. It's D-O-C-T-O-R. That D, that's me.
That's right. And you did correct me on that earlier, so I must stand corrected. You were right, and I was wrong.
That doesn't happen very often. I'm not gonna attack that EGO that you talk about. You know what I'm saying? Well, thanks again, Dr. D. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you as well.